Hi and welcome to Leitrim Daily. My name is Breifne Early and you are listening to episode 110 of the podcast. It is Faces and Places. Today's show is brought to you in association with the Dublin branch of the Leitrim GAA Supporters Club. Thank you for your continued support. 10 days ago on County Final Day, Glencar Manor beat Aughnasheelin's, while Leitrim Gaels beat Drumkeerin to lift the senior and intermediate championship titles respectively. Of course, we all know the scores and how the games played out, but what most of us wouldn't have seen is what happens behind the scenes in Park Sean McDermott to make sure you can get into the ground, park your car, get inside, sit in a comfortable chair, watch the game, read your match programme, cheer on your team and get home all safely without any issues whatsoever throughout the day. It takes an absolute army of volunteers to make sure that happens. And we're going to hear from some of the men and women who make Leitrim GAA tick behind the scenes. From the car park attendants to the first aid responders, the media, the referees, and even the girls making the tea on the day. It's an eye-opening look behind the scenes that you may not have had the opportunity to see before. Let's jump straight in behind the scenes of County Final Day in Leitrim. Cian Glancy, you're hard at work directing traffic in the car park here. It's a full-time job on County Final Day.
Oh, it's a big job, all right, and especially in County Final Day. There's a lot of people here, so make sure that everything is parked up right and that there's no one blocking any entrances, things like that, and keep everything going, keep the traffic flowing. So
I know people see when they come in the gate, they see a horde of people directing people around. There's a good team, and you're here nearly every weekend, the whole way through the championship season.
Nearly every second or third weekend we're here, so we are, and there's nearly the same 4 or 5 of us all the time, and we just make sure that basically that everything is done right, because if someone blocks an entrance, it's made it known, especially an emergency entrance, someone can't get in or out, it causes a big issue, and that just keep the thing flowing and keep everyone happy and that everybody comes to the game. And if the same story all the time, I'm going early, I want to get out, just make sure that everyone doesn't double park up, that everyone's able to get out in their own parking place, there's no hassle.
In terms of how important you are on big days like this, like there's a big crowd here, maybe 3,000 or 3,500 people, the car park, how often does it fill up like today?
Yeah, for example, today, like we're here this morning at 11 o'clock, the first game wasn't on due till 1 o'clock, and the car park was basically full at 1 o'clock. But like when there's cars coming in and out at different times, we always fill in them places and make sure that the cars are going out, there's able the cars to fill them in, and there's just 2 stewards at the road then if the car park is full, just directing traffic, making sure that people are getting the right flow and there's no hold up.
It's a vital job. Thank you so much for giving up your free time through the summer and your teammates for doing all that as well, because there's a team of you and it's the same faces every week, as you said, that I see as I'm coming in and out here at Park Sean. So thank you very much for that and job well done all summer. Congratulations.
That's great. Thanks very much for it. Thank you.
So one of the voices of County Final Day over the years, whether it's Shallonside or Ocean, has been John Lynch. And John, you join me now just before the first game kicks off here, Drumkeerin versus Leitrim Gaels, and of course Glencar Manor against Ballinamore later on. What does the county final mean to you?
It's always, Breifne, I suppose, one of those days that you look forward to from the very start of the club championship, and you're going in towards maybe the autumn time of the year. It's special. It's wonderful. It's all about the club. It's all about the parish. And when you see the way that it engulfs and it takes over the various areas that's involved, like the 4 teams here today, for instance, in the intermediate final, we're going to have first-time champions. That's going to be brilliant for Drumkeerin and for Leitrim Village, as you would well know, and how the excitement is building up there. And equally so in the senior. What a brilliant story. Ballinamore, Aughnasheelin's last success, 1990, last final, 1998, the most successful team in Leitrim. And here they are, back in the final again, against a Glencar Manor team that have lost 4 finals in a row, hugely talented outfit, and they want to put right some of those wrongs. So it's one of the occasions that you look forward to from start to finish. It's wonderful. It's great to be in area early. It's great to see the whole crowd coming in, and the atmosphere is fantastic. And one of the things that I really look forward to on a day like this as well, believe it or not, is when you're down in the pitch afterwards, and you know this as well, you're doing the interviews, and obviously it's devastation time for whoever loses. and you tend to, let them have their chance to grieve on occasion like this. But the scenes of joy and euphoria for whichever team wins, and they're met by family and friends, or they're congratulated, that's always a very special feeling. And I think it's a great way to bring the curtain down in a club championship. And I think it was Micheál Murray mentioned one time, when the curtain comes down in one, you just hope that you're around again for 12 months' time and you can experience this all over. And that's the feeling I've had every year from, I suppose, working on finals here since 1996. That long ago, you're always looking forward, once one ends, to the next one starting again.
I suppose people have a long experience of listening to you for 60 minutes on county final day, but on a practical level, what does your day look like away from the microphone?
Yeah, it can be long, there's no doubt about it. Like, for instance, we have the 2 games going out here today, and what I normally tend to do is, on the day of a match, you hope to arrive maybe anywhere in the region of an hour and a half, 2 hours before the game. Now, there's always sound checks, there's technical issues that you might want to iron out. You like to get in early, you don't want to maybe get caught with traffic coming in, so you want to have your sound checks done. You like to get down to the dressing rooms, check the teams. There was a famous incident here a number of years ago with the Aughnasheelin team that appeared in the programme was completely off centre from the one which actually started the game. Now, in fairness, it was a genuine mistake that happened. 2 teams were submitted. The wrong one was published. Nobody to blame in that. But it just showed the importance of going down. And I always remember Tommy McCormick, the manager of Aughnasheelin, then when you went down, and he says, that's not the right team. And in fairness, they give me a copy of the official team sheet. So that was okay. But it just shows the importance, I suppose, of being in early, being settled, and going down and maybe checking in the dressing rooms as well, just to see if there's anybody wearing a different number or anything like that. Little things. You can get a flavour and a feel as well, if there's nervous energy, if how teams are and how they're preparing. So that's part of it. The commentary then itself will start off, and you've got the 60 minutes, you've got the analysis at half time. The entire show, and for instance, at Ocean is coming from here today, so there'll be further analysis at half time in the intermediate game, and likewise in the senior. And then after the match, you conduct your interviews, you file those for the evening sport, and of course for sport tomorrow as well, where there'll be more reaction. So all in all, you're looking at a day like from today, when the first game starts at 1, you're here from around about 11. And I suppose if we're getting out of here this evening by 6 o'clock, we'll probably be doing well. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scene. But you know something, on a Sunday in October, where else would you rather be? It's absolutely fantastic, and it's great. And I suppose we're in a very fortunate and we're in a privileged position in many ways, Breifne, for any of us that's working here in the media today, to have the best seat in the house, wonderful facilities here in Park Sean. And I think, there's so much to be proud of here in Leitrim GAA, and it's a great occasion. So you don't mind being round for a long day, but it's a day at the same time that you're kept going, and you just hope everything goes well.
Well, John, listen, I'm going to let you get back to preparing for the game. Have you your research done? Do you know the little stories about family connections between teams, that sort of stuff?
All of that, and I suppose it used to be, you're obviously doing how many county titles they've won in the past, you're looking at family connections and whatever. And that probably used to be an awful lot of the old school of commentary. Now, what I have found over the last number of years, believe it or not, is that the level of analysis has improved beyond recognition. And we, for instance, just using Ocean as an example today, we will be working with the likes of Martin McGowan, Aidan Rooney and Emlyn Mulligan. Now, those 3 guys, what they don't know about Leitrim football, it's not worth knowing. And their ability to read games as well. And what I find that the style of commentary has changed an awful lot, particularly over the last 10 years, where you've got analysts now who can read these situations, who can see the tactical patterns developing. There's an awful lot more interaction for them. And the speed of football as well has picked up that much, that you mightn't be using as many stats. Obviously, you'll have a few of them to refer to from time to time. But what I tend to do nowadays in a commentary is very much to focus on the here and now. Game by game, try to get it match by match play if you can. And when you've got some of the top analysts in the business, like what we are fortunate enough to have today working with us, Martin on the first game, Aidan and Emlyn on the second, then at that stage, that really, I suppose, helps to look after itself. And it's a matter of maybe trying to paint the picture the best way you can, maybe for those who are listening online or who are listening on the radio and can't be here, and just to try and maybe give them an idea in your mind's eye or in their mind's eye where the ball is, who has it, and you try and maybe concentrate a little bit more on that. But obviously, you're looking at family connections, and you like to know the history of the clubs and everything like that coming into it. Yeah, so there's about 2 or 3 clipboards of research just behind me there that you can have a look at any stage. So I suppose the build up to the final started early, and I'll let you in on another secret, and people will say this guy is absolutely mad. At 5:45 yesterday morning, just to make a clean run in the day and to be ready for the rugby, I was up in the office at home just going through the final part of the research of that. So you could say the county final weekend is probably what it is more so than a day. So definitely there's a little bit of research and everything on it. But it's I suppose a labour of love more than anything else.
Well, listen, I'll let you get back to it, John.
Fantastic. Breifne, thank you so much indeed.
Enna Lyons, Games Promotion Officer with Leitrim GAA. What's your role here today?
Well, basically what we're doing today is we're coordinating a thank you to all the clubs for their under-7 nurseries that run throughout the year. It's a thing that we're trying to incentivise more clubs to do, get their 4, 5, 6 year olds out, just doing basically fundamental movement skills. And today is just, we're looking for 7-year-olds that want to play a game at half-time and wave the teams on. So it's a great day for them. It's been fantastic pick-up from everybody. We've 44 children here today, so hopefully the weather stays good, that they're not going to get drowned. That's the main thing, you know.
And that's happening at half-time in the intermediate final?
Correct, yeah, we're doing that at half-time because obviously the 94 team has been commemorated at half-time in the senior game. But they're also, more importantly, they're waving the teams on. It'll be nice for players like that to see that we're making an effort and walking behind the band as well. So it'll be good for them. It's a memories they'll not forget on age, you know.
In terms of your day-to-day stuff, how big is the county final in terms of promoting the sport in the county to kids?
Well, I think this is obviously the pinnacle of the championship and the football year for Leitrim. So when you see small kids, you're hoping that other kids are going to say, I want to do that, and why are we not doing that, and driving other clubs to put their nurseries in place. We have to look at where you see Ballinamore in the final and Manor Hamilton in the final senior county final. They've done huge work at underage over the last number of years, and all those are coming through with 2 very, very young teams. So obviously all these fellas have been at county finals. They want to play in county finals, and that's what games promotion today is all about.
PJ Meehan of the Kiltubber Pipe Band, 70 years in existence this year, a fixture on county final day here in Leitrim.
Yeah, fixture indeed. I suppose we've been playing here at county finals as long as I can remember, and that's going back to my 55 years as part of. So definitely 55, if not 60, maybe more.
What's your role as part of the band?
Well, I had every role within the band by way of committee level. Now I'm just practically an ordinary playing member at the minute, and I suppose it's time for me to stand back, and there's a younger cohort now in charge as chairperson, secretary and treasurer, etc. You know.
In terms of today, what exactly will the band be doing as part of the festivities on the day?
Well, today is we're here for the pre-match parade for the senior county final, and we'll finish the parade with the playing of our round of Ian. Now, normally we play at half-time of the game, but I think today they're honouring the 1994 Leitrim team, so there'll be no room for us playing at half-time as such today.
In terms of the band's activities, obviously well known for travelling, New York festivals and other St Patrick's Day parades all over the world, how big is this event in your year?
Well, the county final is our big day. It wraps up our year practically as well, after all our other engagements. And we'd always see the county final as the final outing, bar there's something else, some emergency arises in the county or something happens that we're not aware of. But basically the county final finishes up our year.
Well, listen, PJ, thanks very much for taking the time to speak to us, and the very best of luck. And hope there's no bum notes in the Aron Levine in the national anthem today.
Well, we hope not. Everything should go smooth enough, bar the rain.
Sean McGoldrick, event controller here for the day on county final day, and for most days here in Park. Sean, tell us a bit about what's going on today.
Well, we have the 2 adult intermediate and senior finals. We have a big crowd here. We should have 2 tight games, and hopefully all will go according to plan.
What do you do here, other than everything? But in terms of the actual role, what does the event controller do on county final day?
Well, basically you have to make sure everything is in order, that all the stewards are in their places, that the car park is looked after, the pitch is looked after. There's a myriad of roles, but they all fall together fairly easily if everybody does their job. And we're very lucky with the stewards we have, that they all know what they're supposed to do, and they're an experienced bunch. And we very, very rarely have any hitches.
In terms of the volume of stewards, how many people have you got on your team today?
There would be approximately 50. Yeah.
And how do you recruit 50 volunteers to come and give up their time on a wet October Sunday afternoon?
Well, they are all loyal. Like, there's 2 or 3 from most of the clubs. They're all loyal lads. They're here. Like, I'm here probably the guts of 35, 40 years, and it's the same faces we see all the time, albeit with some newer, younger lads coming now. They're lads that are willing to give up their time. They're all good GA people, and the show won't go on without them, and they're very good to do the job that they do, you know.
In terms of the preparation of the pitch as well, we look out here from the boxes up above the stand, and we see the perfectly lined pitch. Who does all that work, Sean?
We have 2 groundsmen, Pat McMurrough from Drumkeerin and John Shanley from Carrick and Shannon, who will be working hard all during the week. lining the pitch, making sure all the divots are out of it. We have Bernie Goldrick who cuts the grass, does a fantastic job all the time. Again, it's a combination of people doing jobs behind the scenes, and it all comes together on the day, you know. Yeah.
What does county final day mean to you?
County final day means to me it's the biggest day of the year. It's always enjoyable. It's great to see new teams winning. This is actually my 50th county final, believe it or not. The first one I was at was between Gortlet and Aughnasheelin in 1970. So, look, it's a great day out. You see great changes. Some teams are lucky and can get over the line. Other teams can be very unlucky. A missed chance here or there, a refereeing decision going wrong. It's just makes it all enjoyable. 50
county finals. What would you give to have a few more St Mary's names on those titles?
Sure. Look, that's sure. Every club in the county thinks they should win more. Of course, St Mary's. I would have been at, I suppose, 5 or 6 St Mary's finals that I thought we should have won. I was at 2 that we did win that we probably shouldn't have won. So it's all on the day. It's a bit of luck, you know. So your turn will come around, and everybody gets their turn, you know.
How many more county finals are you looking forward to here?
Well, I can't say 50 more, but as long as I can keep coming out, I'll keep coming out. Yeah, that's it.
I'll let you get back to your duties.
Thanks, Breifne. Thank you.
Sean Sullivan, the voice of Park Sean. How's your day shaping up?
Grand, it was a busy day, you know, a bit of a nervous day that you don't forget anything. Because it's 3 hours of a thing, and there's a programme done out of what to do and when to do it. But things like, say, for example, after the intermediate match, you want to get the captain in quickly because you haven't that much time till the other teams are coming out. And then there's all sorts of lovely little things. The whole rake of under sevens coming there now to play at the half time in the game. Now they'll be well organised, but to get them out and get the thing on and finished with. A big thing, of course, at half time in the senior game is the 94 team, and that again has to run clockwork because you don't want the players coming back out for the second half and the heroes of 94 still out on the field. So it was great. It's a very exciting day.
In terms of the overall day, your voice, obviously, people will know. There's been mishaps before. I know this. Have you got the national anthem lined up today? Because I know you've ended up singing it before in the past.
Well, it's a Glencar boy band, and if they make a muck of it, I don't have to worry. And they won't. They're here this is their 70th anniversary, and it's a historic occasion, really. I don't know how many county finals that they've played at. I'm going to check that with PJ Meehan. But the Glencar boy band is an institution here on. It's like the Artane Boys band in Croke Park. It's a Turbot Pipe band, you couldn't have a county final without them.
So listen, I'm going to let you off and do your announcements and also to catch up on who's playing and who's not playing later on. Sean, thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
James McCaffrey, good Aughnasheelin man. You're sitting here watching the intermediate final between Leitrim Gaels and Drumkeerin, but you've been involved in these games in the not so distant past as the match referee. Tell us a bit about what goes into refereeing at county final day.
Well, first of all, it was a great honour to get a county final, and I've done a number of them indeed. And I suppose the expectation is that you'd be nervous that morning and day, but when you get out on the field there, it's a different story. You get tempered into it and everything like that. Your linesman is a very big help to you, and also your 4 umpires, which they deter a lot of the decisions made. But it's a great honour, and but it's a big task. You have to be prepared for all the negative things that comes out of it, and decisions won't go always the right way, and clubs will tell you that, but at the same time it's a great honour to get a county final, a great honour to do one, and I was privileged to be along with a great experienced referee for years, Seamus Pryor, who I picked up my bit of experience from as an umpire for 20 years with him on inter-county games and All-Ireland final and on league games.
How does it compare to playing in terms of the pressures coming into the game?
Well, there's as much pressure, if not more, refereeing than playing, because you have the crucial decisions to make. At least when you're a player and you make a mistake, well, it goes down to earth at the time, but you can give a wrong decision in refereeing, and it could be a cause of some team losing a game, drawing it, or maybe exiting out of a championship or a league, or whatever the case may be,
How do you cope with that when you come off a pitch and maybe yourself you've made a mistake even as soon as you've blown the whistle? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, well, that is the big problem, that you have it in your head that you know that you made the wrong call. You know what I mean? That's that can be a real sore thing. And when you go into a dressing room after, particularly if a team has lost a game, if the draw is not so bad, they have a second bite of the cherry. But if a team loses by a point or by a goal that you give a wrong decision, and or maybe as you thought a right decision and it was wrong, it can be an eyesore for you for many's a long day to come. But all those things happen in refereeing, Breifne, and that's the way it is. And we have to just keep motoring on and get over the bad decisions that's made.
How do you feel the referee's getting on today in today's game?
I think he's doing very well. He's very fit. Michael McGarrell is a very fit man. He has vast experience of playing with them, Riley, and played many a tough game on goals for them. And I think he's a very fit man, and he'll go on to better things. And so will our senior referee, Patrick Cooking, who's on top of the Connacht scene at the moment now. And I think our Leitrim referees are performing very well in Connacht. And I will expect, and I do expect, that they will get better games as they go down the line.
PRO, the County Board, Declan Bohan, we've had you on the show many, many times. Today you're responsible for the match programme. You're the editor, or the person who collates all of the content. How big a job is that?
It's a pretty demanding job, Breifne, from the point of view, I suppose, that we don't really know our finalists until 2 weeks out, and then obviously, as you know, we had our two sets of semi-finals this weekend fortnight. So it's only when you have that it really kicks into action, if you like, because there's a lot of stuff. From looking at the programme, as I'm sure you've gone through it and seen, there's quite a large input from the clubs themselves, between having to get sponsors ads and having to get pen picks, we'd say, for their players, and organised team photographs. We had them taken from the semi-finals, so that part was done. But just the whole sort of it's a heavy workload on club officials, I'd have to say, as well, to get that stuff back. And to be fair to them, they come back with their stuff very promptly, and it's only when you get that back then, I suppose, that the real job of designing it takes place. And we plan out our pages, and then we work towards it. Obviously we have to get some external articles as well, and they have to come in and be proofed, and you're updating some of the records from previous years, like the Roll of Honour. That's a simple enough job, and a lot of it is probably similar to what appears in previous years, only it's updated, but it keeps the record straight. Just in relation to the compilation of the programme, I'd have to pay a specific, I know overall it's my responsibility, but I'd have to pay a particular tribute to James Malloy, who does all the design work behind the scenes and pulls all the pages together once the information is fed to him, and he obviously does the stuff on the photographs of the pen picks and that type of thing. So James has spent countless hours this past week pulling it together. It's a tight call to get it in place for printers, and I'd have to thank DPS Printing Carrick-on-Shannon, who printed the fine production. I'd have to say we're very pleased with it. We've pushed them to the wire too, because it was only literally signed off at 20 to 4 on Thursday, and then it had to go into production then, so it's a tight operation now, to be honest. And
I suppose that's really only the first half of it. I know from experience 15-20 years ago, then you have to actually get it into people's hands, and that in itself is a huge operation on the day here today.
It is, yeah. Well, once the boxes are delivered, which they would have been yesterday to here, it's the dynamic, if you like, of selling the programmes ultimately is because they just don't get out of box into people's hands. So I'd have to thank Secretary Atractor Riley, who organised teenagers from St Mary's Glencar here beside us, and they've traditionally, if you like, sold the programmes for us. And I'd like to thank those programme sellers who have been exceptionally dedicated to the duty of selling them here early, dealing with boxes of programmes, dealing with change and so on. So they are not to be forgotten in the operation as well, because that's the final stage of it, is getting them to people's hands.
And am I right in saying I heard a rumour that they may have sold out?
I heard early on that there were. I was asked how many did we get, and it was more or less a wonder, are there boxes left? So I'd say I'd be quite confident in saying they probably did sell out. I hope that everybody that really wanted one got their hands on one, because if it's worse obviously to have too few than too many. I mean, I'd be happier if there was a full box left over, because there's always somebody coming looking for them afterwards. So possibility is, I'm just not exactly sure if they're all gone, but if they are, well, sure, at least they won't be picking up dust over the winter.
In terms of the overall attendance, though, County Board must be delighted with the turnout today.
Yeah, it was great attendance, and I suppose from the point of view of look, as you had in the intermediate final, you were looking at Drumkeerin and Leitrim Gaels, who have never won that title previously. So this is a big day for both clubs, and I'd obviously like to congratulate Leitrim Gaels on a fantastic win. and a well-deserved win on the day, you know, and they probably have been the best team in the competition. I mean, the best team generally wins it, and they would have brought enthusiastic support. It looked like as if there would be nobody left in Drumkeerin with the amount of supporters they had here. And you know, Ballinamore back in their first final in 21 years, looking for its first title in 29. Obviously brought a huge crowd here because there was massive interest in what they could do, and unfortunately for them it didn't work out. And then Glencar, Manor, Hamilton looking to, I suppose, maybe bookend their most recent record, if you like, in finals. This is their 9th final, but you know, they've won the first 4 and they've lost the last 4, so now maybe they've just literally closed the chapter, if you like, on a period in their history, and fair dues to them in their 50th year in existence on winning a county championship.
So Sean Donoghue of the Order of Malta, the ambulance corps here on the day in Park. Sean, what exactly is your role on the day?
Well, I suppose we're here in the event of something happening, but hopefully nothing will actually happen. So we actually provide first aid cover to the players on the pitch, and also to the spectators in the crowd. But as I said, hopefully we don't want anything to actually happen. We want a very, very quiet day, 2 good matches, games of football, and that's really what we're about.
Is it very frustrating coming to work hoping that you don't have to actually do any work?
In some ways, yes, and in other ways, no. I mean, I suppose sometimes we actually like to get a bit of work because it's good practice, it's good experience for us, but by the same token, when we are actually getting experience, it's not good for the person that we're actually practicing on.
Tell us a bit about the corps that's here today, because there's a few bodies around in yellow and red jackets.
Yeah, so I suppose there's 5 of us here today. We're all volunteers. We actually get, we're totally funded by sort of donations for events like this and so on and so forth. I suppose we're from a different background in terms of we've actually got fitters, we've actually got teachers, we've got accountants actually working with us. So the thing is, it's all up for a different variety of sort of people and whatever thing. And it's good camaraderie, and it's actually, we have a good crack on the day usually as well.
In terms of the importance of having yourselves on site here, without you being here, probably the event would be in danger of not really happening.
Yeah, unfortunately that's the way it's gone now in terms of having first aid cover, and I suppose the level of first aid now is actually you have to have an ambulance on site and so on and so forth, and unfortunately I suppose with the level of claims and so on, so in the past and whatever, it's a must have, and it's a prerequisite now in a lot of times where they won't actually allow the event to happen unless there's actually an ambulance cover in place.
Well, Sean, listen, I'm going to let you get back. I know the rest of your buddies have moved on, so the very best of luck, and hopefully you don't have to actually do anything today.
Thanks, Breifne. Take care.
County Board Chairman Terence Boyle, it's a big operation here away from the pitch on County Final Day.
Oh, absolutely. It's Breifne, it's a massive undertaking. It's one of the biggest days in our calendar year, our County Final Day. And a huge amount of work goes in behind the scenes that no one knows anything about. And even on the day itself, between our gatemen and our stewards and the ladies above looking after us in the kitchen, it's a huge undertaking to have everything, and our PRO working for the weeks beforehand to get a programme ready for today and to have everything in place. It is a mammoth task, but thankfully everyone works together and it all comes together generally on the day. So,
tell us a little bit about the numbers. How many people are here today?
In the crowd-wise, it's just hard to know at the moment until the gate people come back in, but it looks like we have a very bumper crowd today. We'll have 3,500 to 4,000 people here by looking around the crowd here. So it's a great crowd for the finals here today. Of course, we have our 2 big finals on the one day, which is probably unique from a lot of counties. It's a great sporting occasion within the county. So.
Excellent. And in terms of the impact that this has on the sporting calendar around the county, this is probably the biggest day for sport in the county in terms of local sport.
Oh, absolutely. This is the big day for sport, all sports within the county. And the great buzz that is around the place on County Final Day is huge. So it would be one of the biggest sporting occasions within the county during the year.
And of course, as we've said before, it's your last county final in the role of chairman, but it won't be your last county final, I'd imagine.
Absolutely not. No, I'm not going to turn my back on Leitrim GAA or the support of all, but it is my last cup to be presenting the Fina Cup for the last time today after 5 years. The 5 years went through very quick, but look, it has been very enjoyable. And
how much of an honour is it to present that cup on County Final Day?
It's a huge honour. It's a huge honour to be chairman of your county, regardless what county it is. It's a huge honour, and the respect that comes with it is huge. Like the respect I have received from all over the county in my term has been phenomenal, and I have to thank all the clubs and all the people in the county for that.
In terms of the final today, you've just given the trophy to Aidan Flynn of Leitrim Gaels. You'll give it to one of the 2 lads from Manor, Hamilton or Ballinamore in an hour's time. In terms of the 5 years here, how will they compare to giving it to someone from Aughnasheelin like you did 2 years ago for the intermediate championship?
Well, as we all know, there's nothing more special than giving it to your own, and I was privileged and honoured to have the privilege of presenting the intermediate cup to me, Barry McQueenie from my own club a couple of years ago, and that'll be one of the highlights of my tenure as chairman.
Well, listen, Terence, it's been a pleasure working with you all year. Best of luck in presenting the cup. I hope you don't fluff your words. You'll be fine on the day. But the very best of luck for the rest of the day and for the rest of your term, the couple of months that are left in your 5-year term as chairman of Leitrim County Executive.
Yeah. Look, we have 2 months left. It's countdown now after county final day. It's all hands on deck getting ready for convention and getting everything in place for next year. As was seen there with the championship draws last week, everything is focusing now on to 2020. 2019 is nearly done and dusted, so onwards and upwards for Leitrim.
Shane Butler, you're the scoreboard operator here in Park Sean. What does that entail?
I'll just get the scoreboard to make sure the remote and everything is working and make sure you put up the scores for the right team when they come.
It's a far cry from the days back when myself and Joe Flynn Jr. used to manage it by hand and you need to physically move the boards. It's all electronic now, and you sit up in a nice, warm, dry press area here and just press buttons. What happens when you get one wrong, though? How quickly are you told?
Well, the press bin, if you're near them, they'll tell you. And if not, a track will ring you or be held Doherty. They'll be on to you very quick.
This isn't your first county final. You've been here many, many times before. You've been around the game as long as I can remember. What does county final day mean to you, Shane?
It means an awful lot to county final to see, especially when your own team is in it and all that, and it's great to see all the people turning out, I think, every year.
It's a great crowd here today, isn't it?
Great crowd today, yeah. And of course our near neighbours, Leitrim Gaels, have won, and there's a good game on now, so there is. So.
Excellent. Well, listen, the rain is pouring down here, and the presentation of the players from the 94 team has kind of been brought in back in on the stand. I'm going to let you go and get back in case the concentration levels drop in the second half.
Lovely, Breifne, thank you.
Sean Murray, ever present here as a steward over the years, former chairman of Leitrim County Board as well back in the day. What's your role here today, Sean?
Gate steward, the main gate for the teams, referees and things like that to come out onto the pitch. Been doing it for donkey's years.
And what are the main issues that could happen to you on any given day?
Well, we really don't have much problems because we have loads of stewards, and people know, attending county finals or matches throughout the year, they know which gates enter and exit through, and our gate is the main gate there. And well, of course, sometimes when there's maybe a bit of controversy during matches and that, and the referees may be coming off at the end of a game or at half time, and that we have to make sure that it's cordoned off and that we can nip any aggression in the bud that may arise, but that rarely happens.
In terms of the role, though, as you mentioned, you've been doing this for longer than you probably care to remember. What encourages you to keep coming back out, giving up your time when your own club, St Mary's, aren't even involved in these county finals?
Well, I've been immersed in the GAA since I was a young lad. I started playing with my own club when I was 11 or 12, and I played up until I was 35, and I had the misfortune to appear in 3 county finals and not to win any of them senior finals. I would love to have won one. I won one, as I saw, with Shimorgi as in 1975, so that kind of compensated, and I won a junior league and championship. But I won numerous awards as a young player when I was under 16, 14 and minor, and I progressed then after my playing days. I refereed, I was an administrator. I'm still involved on the hearings committee within the Leitrim County Board. We deal with hearings where there's grievances from players that are suspended or sent off or things like that. So there's that mechanism there in every county. So I'm a member of that and have been on it for the last, I think this is the 3rd county chairman that has appointed me or nominated me to be part of it. So I'm looking forward. I look forward to those hearings and things like that. We're nearly like a court. We sit in judgment and we have to decide then who's telling the truth and who's not.
In terms of the annual sporting calendar here in Leitrim, How big is the county final day to you?
The county final is D-Day in Leitrim, the same as All Ireland in Croke Park, and clubs, they all vie to try and get there, and it's a big occasion. And we've had success over the years with our own club, and I know now we have a second club in the parish, Leitrim Gaels, and they're involved in today's final, so we wish them well. And they went through the process that we went through of losing finals, but they're back again anyway, and third time lucky maybe this year, so hopefully they'll bring it off.
Well, Sean, listen, I'm going to let you get back to doing your duties here in Park Sean.
Okay, delighted to talk to you.
Maureen Diffley, we're here surrounded by food and sandwiches and coffee pots and teapots. Tell us a bit about what your role is here on County Final Day.
We've tried to accommodate by providing provisions, tea, sandwiches, coffee and all sorts of goodies for all the officials, the stewards, and I suppose we start from preparation from yesterday and we prepare all the food in advance, and then we come in here and it's just a pleasure to be able to to see everybody happy, and on good days like that, on cold days, you'll have a lot of people coming up for their tea and coffee, and it's a pleasure to be able to help out. And there's lots of women here, and indeed men, that help out on days like today. And I suppose that's what it's all about. It's all working together and been doing the best we can.
It's a big operation though, because you're literally feeding a small army of people who make everything work behind the scenes here on a day like today, whether it's a National League game or even, as we know, there's 3,500 people outside and they need to be minded. And you mind the people who mind the people here enjoying their clubs. Tell us about kind of what is on offer here for the stewards.
Oh, well, the stewards, they all meet here at 11 o'clock for this morning. And right away we give them tea, coffee, sandwiches and whatever, of course, the banter and the chat and what anticipate what happened, the results might be today. And that's basically what we do, is we just give them tea and sandwiches, prepare them for their journey, and then obviously the stewards don't leave their stall during the day. So for argument's sake now, the likes of today, we went round and just gave the stewards tea and sideline, just especially on a cold day like today. But I think everybody appreciates what we do, and the banter and the crack here is good.
Listen, Maureen, keep doing what you're doing, and thanks for having a chat with me.
Yeah, thank you, Breifne, and call any time for a cup of tea and coffee yourself.
Micheál Doherty, you're one of the main stewards here in Park Sean. Do you ever leave this place?
Spend quite a bit of time in it. It takes probably a lot of time and effort to try and maintain it to as good a standard as it possibly can. It is the premier event in the year too, and the intermediate and senior final the one day, so it does need plenty of work. But there's a lot of people put in good effort to keep it that way.
In terms of the day, I suppose 3,500 people in the ground today. It's difficult to keep a venue to a standard where people can come in and go out with no problem whatsoever, really, on a day like that, because it's a huge amount of people in a really short space of time coming in and out through the gates.
Yeah, I suppose we had a substantial crowd in for the first game today, which was unusual. Most people were there to get the better seats, and a lot of people turned up for the second game thinking they'd get the normal seats and were quite disappointed, which is unusual, but that's the way. And so we had the next, I'd say it was one of the biggest crowd we had in a long time, and the only downside was the half-time was the absolute spill we had when the presentation was for the 94 team, and it was regrettable that people didn't get to see that team during the half-time break, because there was a solid downpour. But that's the way it goes.
How do the stewards react to situations like that you might not have necessarily planned for in the planning of the day?
Yeah, to improvise. We just simply couldn't ask them to go out in the rain because it was teeming out of the heavens, and there was hail and sleet and hailstones falling, and fellas had just come with ordinary very light clothing on them, so you couldn't really ask them to go out. It wouldn't be fair, and it was unfortunate for the public that was there. But as I said, they would love to have seen them again.
How important are the volunteer stewards here? Because you're all volunteers doing this. You all give up your own time to come in here to be part of the behind the scenes of a great day like today.
Very, very important, and very important that they are the mannerism in which they carry out the duty as a steward. It's reflective of the professionalism of the people by the way they conduct themselves with other people, because some people it might be the only time they would come to Páirc Sean, and they struggle maybe with getting toilets and that, and they expect this and but stewards have to have a good mannerism, and generally speaking most of the stewards have. I believe that most of the time we don't have any feedback with any complaints anyway.
Excellent, Mr. Mihal. Well done on a fantastic day. Everyone's in and out, no major incidents, and everyone's going home safely, which is a job well done.
Thanks very much, Breifne. Thank you very much.
And that, folks, is all we have time for today. A massive thank you to everybody who spoke to me on County Final Day and who gave us a fantastic look behind the scenes at what goes on in preparation for a huge event like that, with, as you heard, between 3,000 to 4,000 people in Páirc Sean McDiarmid on the day of the Leitrim GAA County Finals. Today's episode was brought to you in association with the Dublin branch of the Leitrim GAA Supporters Club. A massive thank you to Eamon Degnan and his committee for their continued support of the show. Orla McNabolo will be with you tomorrow for a look at what's on around the county for the next 7 days, while I will be back with you on Friday for a look at the sporting outlook for the weekend. Talk to you then.